I'm holding the New York Post in my hand. Funny you should mention that. It makes it the greatest newspaper in America. Raging Bull bleep. Sideshow Bob De Niro goes ballistic. I mean, here's what happened. Everything they did yesterday has led me to two really weird conclusions, and you're playing a big role in the two conclusions I have reached. Let me tell you because I keep thinking about your casual reaction to the possibility of Trump getting convicted this week. You've basically laughed that off, and you say you've sort of said, "Oh, I think he gets 40 states," and you don't seem to share the sense of dread and the lump in my throat, the pit in the knot in my stomach that I have at the prospect of them getting to call him a convicted felon from now until November the 5th.
I think you're right. It's not my favorite thing,
but it doesn't bother you like it bothers me.
I don't think so. I would listen. It would be horrible. It would be a perversion of justice. But ultimately,
it already is.
It totally already is. But how much would it really matter in the only thing that really does matter, and that's the November result? And I believe that for every single voter who would be peeled off by a conviction, oh man, I was thinking about voting for him, but gosh, convicted felon, that's just too much. For every voter like that, there may be two who rise up and say, oh, hell no, and show up and vote for him with even greater vigor.
So that's what has led to this crazy radical conclusion that the piece that I've come to in my mind. I was thinking about this driving into work today. I think a conviction helps him more than an acquittal or a hung jury. I'm starting to think a conviction is more. He'll wear convicted felon like a badge of honor.
Yes.
And so I'm really starting to believe this. I'm watching all this analysis. Listen, this judge is as rotten and as corrupt as the day is long. This judge has sided with the prosecution. I mean, courtroom observers who have gone in there can't believe Juan Merchan. They can't believe. This guy's like, Trey Gowdy said it best the other day. He's kind of like, he turns to the defense team and says, are you ready to start today? And then he essentially turns to the prosecution and says, are we ready? Let's go get him. You know, I mean, everything, he overrules every Trump defense motion, and he sustains every prosecution objection. It's unbelievable. So first of all, it's a complete show trial. He's literally a Biden donor, and his daughter is actually making millions off the trial. So the whole courtroom is corrupt from top to bottom. I think it helps Trump if he gets convicted. I'm starting to think that, and so that's conclusion number one. Conclusion number two is after yesterday, where everything the Biden-Harris campaign did. Remember, the Robert De Niro thing was a campaign event. Yes. That was not just De Niro saying, "Hey, you mooks, I'm going to go over here to the
courthouse. I'm going to say a few things."
No. This was blessed and sanctioned and created by Team Biden-Harris.
They thought this was going to be great. He's the voiceover for their new scathing attack ad where he pulls these fantasies right out of his sigmoid column. Trump's never going to leave. He's a dictator. Go ahead. Sorry.
So exactly. So he shows up with a giant mask on an 80-degree spring day 4 years after COVID. So Mr. Tough Guy, Raging Bull himself, was walking down with a little baby blue mask on his face. He's got an unhinged Capitol Police officer who has lied about almost everything that happened to him on January 6th. And they spent the whole thing being drowned out by Trump supporters yelling F Joe Biden and a blaring car horn honking.
I don't know how there's a huge, I think there's a new Twitter account for the De Niro car horn.
For the car horn.
The car alarm, because at some point he's talking.
I mean, is that a metaphor or what?
The whole thing was so failed, and you phrased this exactly right. Somebody at headquarters, somebody there in the Fortress of Solitude that is the Biden campaign headquarters, they thought, this is going to be great. We're going to put on the last day. All you got to do is shut up for one more day. If you want to come out and have something to say after the conviction or the acquittal, Biden will apparently attempt an address to the nation after the jury has weighed in. But who in the world thought this was going to be a good idea?
Which leads me to my second radical conclusion. And I'm telling you, I think I'm onto something. I'm starting to think the Biden-Harris campaign wants Trump to win. I'm telling you,
well, there we are.
You can't be this stupid and think that was a good idea. Who in the world would think that would help Biden?
Right.
I mean, there's De Niro, incidentally, screaming at the crowd. They're screaming at him. But here's what's really, really serious about what they did yesterday. Yeah. They have pretended to be above the fray all along. Oh, we're going to let the justice system. This isn't a political event, this trial. There's nothing political. Well, they just proved that it is. To have a campaign event outside the courtroom while they're just beginning closing arguments?
Yep.
Now's the time you decide to hold a press event? And it wasn't just De Niro. They had the Biden campaign spokesman, whoever the heck that guy.
Mike Kelly walks up and says, "We're here." Looks right into a bank of cameras because the real public's not allowed on that block. Looks up and says, "We're here because you're here." He said the true part out loud. They were playing to a friendly press.
And when those reporters asked him questions, did you see what he said? Are there any questions from the media? Are there any questions? He wouldn't answer any questions. Is this a show trial? Are there any questions? He refused to answer any questions. It was a disaster. So I don't know. We're going to see the next. They start jury deliberations today. The judge, this Biden donor judge, gives instructions at 10 a.m. Eastern time today. Yeah. Jury gets it, and they have a hunch. The logic right now coming out of that courtroom is that it's going to be quick. I mean, did you see that the prosecutor, how long he went? They went last night.
Was it 6 hours when all was said and done?
5 or 6 hours. Yep. The team Trump went about 3. Mm-hmm. They said that the jurors' eyes were glazing over about 4 hours in. Yep. Well, they had to be saying, "What are you doing? We get it." I mean, did that help or hurt? I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't think quantity ever makes the argument for quality, and it's a bookkeeping case. How in the world do you drag people through 6 hours of minutia on this? I have long been a student of jury deliberation times, and in your history of doing this as well. If the jury gets it at 9 o'clock Central Time, and they're back right after lunchtime. It's not going to be an hour or two, but let's say it's 4 or 5. They come back pretty darn quickly. Is that good for him or bad for him?
Mark, I'm so lost at this point. I can't even believe there's a trial. It's so bizarre. There's no conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom says that if you've got a candidate running who's a convicted felon, he won't win.
You're using earth logic.
There's no earth logic here.
Ordinarily, some of the conventional wisdom is that if they come back really, really quickly, it's good for the defendant because it means prosecution
normally
did not meet the bar.
Normally,
but what about this is normal?
Ain't nothing normal about this. I mean, the political headline that came out yesterday morning has really started a narrative that is, you know how that freight train gets rolling. Yep. Democrats are in full-blown freak out over Biden. A pervasive sense of fear has settled in. You know, Dana Perino said something last night on the 5 that got me thinking. She said, look, she invoked the late Bob Beckel. Remember Bob over at Fox News?
I love Bob so much. Yep.
I did too, and I used to appear with him all the time, regularly when I was a regular on Fox News. And he, a great guy, had his own demons, and God rest his soul. But he worked on the Mondale campaign, and he shared with Dana, and Dana shared this as well. They kind of have a sense by Memorial Day how an election's going to go. And believe me, if you had a sense right now, if you were judging by Memorial Day, guess what? We're in. Trump wins.
Okay, but for Reagan and Mondale, you pretty well knew by Memorial Day. You know, for Johnson and Goldwater, you pretty well knew by Memorial Day. You think we knew by Memorial Day 2000 with Bush and Gore? I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, didn't it go back and forth in 2000?
Did we know by Memorial Day in 2016? I don't think so. 2020? I don't think so.
I don't know. Again, maybe some earth logic here, but here's another poll that just came out that confirms what I've been telling you all along. I sent it to you this morning. More Democrats than Republicans want Biden kicked off the ticket. Here's a shocking dismissal of the party chief just months before election. 54% of Democrat likely voters approve of Biden being replaced. Now, they acknowledge at the Washington Examiner it's a very unlikely possibility with the party nominating convention set for mid-August.
Gets closer every day.
It gets closer every day, and Michelle Obama is the major alternative that they keep living.
Never, never, never happen. She has no interest in that because it's a real job. I have interest in your thoughts about something. You thought this went away. I did it. I've seen it. This will take 2 minutes because I've got to compare my thought with yours because you were very forthcoming about yours. After the weird mix of reactions, I decided I'm not going to blow money in the theater. I'm going to wait till this thing comes to my house, and it did. Guess what I did over the weekend, Mike? I saw Civil War. You ready? So the movie comes out, and it's about a near-future dystopian thing where there's a president they're trying to take out, and Texas and California have both seceded. What? For the same reason? I don't know. And I was pretty intrigued. It looked interesting and gripping. You hated it. I saw some other people that said they were confused by it. The one thing happened that I did not expect to happen. I didn't think that it would be this stupid. It is a pointless exercise. It's a love mash note to the journalistic profession, whatever. It's about war correspondence, ultimately. Did you think that ultimately somebody said that it's a Trump assassination fantasy? And Nick Offerman does come off a little Trumpy, but the movie does such a clumsy, empty job of telling you anything about why anybody seceded. I knew he's there for a third term. I know he has a red tie or whatever. So I get the movie wasn't well made enough to me to think that it was such an in-your-face Trump assassination fantasy. So they didn't even do that well. It was a dumb waste of time.
I don't know why you think a movie has to be well made in order to depict a Trump assassination.
No, I know. Well,
and I'm sorry.
Just to be coherent. I mean, I can see it. We see what we. Allow me to respond since you gave me the opportunity. It was one of the most sickening, grotesque examples of Trump derangement syndrome. It absolutely depicted Trump getting riddled full of bullets in the Oval Office. It was sickening, and I don't care how bad the technique was. It doesn't make any difference to me how clumsy the script was. When you got a guy in a red tie, very Trump-esque, in the Oval Office begging for his life, and they riddle him full of bullets as the conclusion. It makes me sick to my stomach, and it enraged me, and it ought to enrage everybody. Again, we're so numb right now, we don't even have the ability to say, wait a minute, that to me is the same as stabbing a Trump character on the stage at Shakespeare in the Park. Which they did, exactly.
Which they did, or Kathy Griffin holding up the severed head. These people are nuts. Look at Robert De Niro. The man is bat crap crazy. These people are out of their gore, and we got one path here. We got to get the country back, and I'm liking our chances. We're going to see what happens.
I do like our chances. Here's a 30-second question we can do 30 minutes on, because I've kind of been weighing it almost on a daily basis. It's almost like the Mark Davis Fab 5 tracker. If you could wave a wand right now and have him pick somebody as VP, who would it be?
Yikes.
You want to get back to me?
Yeah, well, my short list.
Give me a couple.
Sarah Sanders, Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Love her. Yep.
I don't hate the idea of Tim Scott. I like Tim Scott.
He's such a nice man, but
I know conventional wisdom says I'm crazy, but my dream ticket is Ron DeSantis.
Oh no, are you kidding? He's my top guy. That would unite conservatives. It would be awesome. Is that
impossible at this point?
Well, Trump would have to change his residency to New York, but wouldn't that be the best thing? That'd be the greatest thing to do, especially if he's convicted. You're going to convict me? I'm moving there. Of course, he'd have to move there.
Well, not only that, Mark. There's an imagery. You got De Niro accusing Trump of not being a real New Yorker.
I know. What is
so
that?
Trump says, you know what?
It's my city. What?
Oh, yeah. What? Yeah. Trump's built half that skyline. You failed, washed up hag of an actor. Put your mask back on and shut up.
All right. I'm glad I asked. All right, man. Happy Wednesday
Happy
to
Wednesday.
you. More to come. It's Mike Gallagher, and he's ready at 10.